giving them instruction, by giving them, decades and centuries old wisdom that are contained within books. And that's where all the knowledge is contained.
Thank you. Talking of relief, you realize that we have a very big percentage of our young people unemployed, and those ones who are in kind of gainful employment, many of them are underemployed, meaning that they really struggle to make ends meet. True. There is a saying, which to some extent I agree with, that if you want to hide something from a black man, you hide it in a book. It is something that many of us have battled with. I happen to be in the book industry in Uganda. I run a publishing company, Pan-African Publishers, and I see how we try to change the attitude and the mindset, the attitude that people have towards reading. That in fact starts in schools, because in the schools very few of us, or very few school-going children have been exposed to reading other than with the purpose of passing exams. So having that kind of shift, in addition to offering a bit of relief, and then we use that opportunity to change the mindset, to attract and yes, can harvest the wisdom, the knowledge, the experience that has been accumulated over years is something that will gladly be welcomed. It is something that will be and stories. Would you look at importing them? What exactly would be that approach?
There would be no greater story than a Ugandan that starts where he starts at today. Maybe he's struggling to find employment. Maybe he's 25, 30 years old out there with a family struggling to get by. There would be no greater story for the Ugandan people for him to pick up 4 or 5 books, and over the next 6 months read those books, and over the next year apply the knowledge that he gained in those books. And literally the amount of struggle that people suffer will diminish greatly, because they will be attacking their issues from a solution standpoint rather than a problem standpoint. Because when you look at a mountain as a problem, it's pretty big and insurmountable. But when you look at it as an opportunity, it's like, I'm going to go learn how to climb a mountain, then I'll be a mountain climber. And you look at it from that perspective, that's really when things start changing. And if we could get a local Ugandan to go in there and change his entire approach to his life because he reads a few books and then applies that and has great success, which they all will, we're talking within 18 to 24 months, having so many testimonials based off of those interactions that it won't take long to catch fire and go throughout the entire country. We just have to have a small group to begin with to get started, and nothing would be better than to get in there and write some Ugandan stories to relate some of these age-old principles to you people directly at home.
Thank you. Mr. Vaneva, do you have something to say about this, now that you've conceptualized what Mr. Daniel Walker is
yeah. No, I think this is very, very interesting, and I'm glad he's looking at how to improve the lives of people, and it's very good to improve in the condition where they are. I just bring out maybe one issue of agriculture. You find that people are in agriculture, but they are struggling to produce good products. They could be growing matoke, bananas. They could be growing coffee, but they don't have the knowledge as what it takes to have high production within that area. So if people could be trained to improve their output, be more productive, even in the areas where they are, maybe that would be a very big changer. And as well as writing down the whole thing to do within agriculture. For example, if somebody is a coffee farmer, having a very low yield, but he doesn't know that there are some pests he's got to fight, there's some manuring, that he has got to add to his coffee. There is a way it has to be pruned. I mean, the whole issue of how to look after coffee itself, people need to be empowered and trained. Then talk about the small and medium enterprises that could arise, where people could be skilled on how to produce some of these products. Like we have a lot of yogurt, we have a lot of, ice cream. We can make ice cream from the milk. So that helping of the people to add value to whatever they are doing, to skill them, to train them, personally I think would be very, very helpful. There are many products that they could be skilled in making. For example, you see we import a lot of shoes, but we have leather in Uganda. We import a lot of clothes, but we have a lot of raw materials in Uganda. Can we be trained or skilled to make better shirts or better clothes so that people can earn a better living? So skilling people, me, especially the youth, would be very, very helpful, and there's a high opportunity. And there are many people who are struggling to make ends meet because they have no skills. Some of them don't have the tools that they would use to produce some of these products. So I see that there is a huge opportunity to make lives better, and it would be very good to have this role of. So I agree that there is an opportunity in that area. Thank you.
That's a good one, Mr. Banabe. In fact, I also appreciate the fact that Mr. Daniel Walker is basically looking at capacitating people to look at having a number of hooks as opposed to getting a fish one off and they continue in that kind of rat race. I think that is a good mentality. As someone in the book industry, any attempt to increase the number of books in this country is something that I believe will cause transformation. Because you see, when you get to a number of bookshops that we have in this country, you find textbooks, academic books, things that are only used to pass exams. And there is always life outside class. And the books personally that have transformed my life a little are books that were written by individuals. Just someone is sharing their story for 50 years, for 20 years, their ideas, and when you read that concept, that accumulated knowledge, you realize that it is something easily applicable than looking at the chemistry or the physics that you might have studied in a class, but always wondering how to apply it. So that is a very good approach, and I think it cuts across all sectors if people can be empowered in that direction. If literature can be made available, because the literature, to be sincere, is not available, and that kind of speaks to the other arrangement of thinking that the black people do not want to read. To some extent, I disagree, because even the literature is not so readily available. So an investment towards making the literature available, making Ugandan stories available on the book shelves, and also making sure that the young people or the people that need to be capacitated read these stories, share them, and at the end of the day have their attitude, their mindset transformed is a very, very good thing that we will gladly welcome. Is there anything you would want to add on, Mr. Daniel Walker, so far on what has been discussed?
No, I think it was great. It's great to meet you. It's great to be here. I'm so glad to get a chance to talk to you and share you my vision.
Sorry?
I was just grateful to get to talk to you and share my vision with you. That's great.
Thank you. There is a brother here. There is one of our brothers here. He's into the real estate business in Uganda. One of the people you can say have been successful in that industry. They buy land, and that land, after buying it, they put up houses and try to create residences. Just like we were saying that for a growing population and for a growing middle class, there is already a deficit in housing. So he's into that business, and I would just ask him to say a word or two before we get to something else.
So thank you very much. Love meeting you, Brother Daniel. Thank you very much for showing the interest to empower Ugandans. I'm Wilberforce Odongo.
Recording in progress.
Yeah, I was talking about real estate. Real estate is industry that can improve people's lives. One, there are many poor people in Uganda who cannot afford housing, where to sleep, the orphans, the widows, the poor. If one can have that type of improving their lives, I think housing is also a place where one can improve people's lives. Also, like vocational kind of center where the people can be trained, youth can be trained to use the hand to work. Vocational kind of institute where people can be taught, can be trained to do something, not necessarily depending on maybe
Thank you. That is our brother in the real estate business. Mr. James, would you have a word or two for us to make a follow-up, maybe later on, a word or two, in as far as the interest of our brother is concerned, finally?
Well, I think it's important that we identify the stakeholders, the kind of people that he will meet when he comes. It's important we kind of go do some engagements. Where would we have people that are ready for skilling, or where are people interested in knowledge, who can be trained, which groups of people do we want to meet? So I think there's some work we need to do on our side to identify the right people, the right stakeholders we can work with, and then in terms of registering his business, how do we support him so that the business is properly registered? As you know, when you come in and you're doing this kind of work, it's important that you get registered so that they don't suspect that you have ulterior motives. So I think there's some homework we'll have to do, make sure that when he comes, he's comfortable and he meets the right people that can propel his vision forward. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Barab. In fact, you've brought in a key component that we can digest briefly. That is the component of stakeholders. Maybe Mr. Daniel, you would just make a hint on that. Which kind of stakeholders would you want to, work with, so that we can probably think of laying that ground?
In what regard are you talking about?
I beg your pardon?
In what regard are you speaking of stakeholders?
If we are to look at empowering people, most especially the way you've been emphasizing the fact that there is need to have people be capacitated in terms of reading, right? So you would probably maybe want to work with publishers, maybe you would want to work with student organizations, maybe you would want to work with printers, maybe you would want to work with writers, like.
Well, I mean, perhaps. I think initially it would be meeting the people, seeing where they are, not necessarily the stakeholders, but the actual people, to see what the conditions are that we're trying to alleviate and change. And then, community leaders, business leaders, people that have a vision, but maybe are struggling with their own pain points. I've been in business for 25 years, and there's probably not a problem I haven't faced. And I have a vast network of very skilled entrepreneurs and business people in their own regard that I could pull on at any time. So meeting the actual stakeholders that might be down the road a little bit. I think our first thing would be to meet with the people, to introduce to the people, as well as bring a message of hope, bring a message of deliverance, bring a message of what tomorrow can be with empowerment of the people. And then, certainly the different religious and political leaders of the areas that want to do better for their people should be introduced to some of the books and some of the principles that should be introduced to their cultures, not just as the books are now, but to be written to better facilitate a Ugandan pride.
All right, that's a good one. Maybe lastly, talking about the people, which numbers would you want to, in estimation, the numbers that you would want to start work with? Maybe 100, 200, so that maybe
Well, I don't guess I understand the question.
Looking at the fact that you would want to identify the people, just like we said, Uganda has 47 million people. But so the people
just a random sampling of people would be fine. Yeah, 100 people would be great. That'd be awesome.
100 people. That's 100 people. The gender does not matter. Male,
female. Not at this point. I think it's too early to really get into that. I think over the next few weeks, maybe if we have a few more discussions, we can get better acquainted and see how it comes together better.
Right. Thank you. Unless there is any other thing that you would want to maybe know, because now we've understood the.
Not yet. I'll go back and I'll watch the video. I couldn't understand a lot of the words, and so I'm reading the captions. So I'll go back and listen to it again and go through the words again and try to see if I can connect better and follow up. I'll follow up with Gibson.
All right, then. Thank you. Thank you so much, Daniel, and thank you, James. Thank you, Wilbur, and may God richly bless you. Have a nice time.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.